What if the thing you call laziness isn't laziness at all? Think about it. You can spend 2 hours scrolling without a problem. You can watch videos late into the night. You can suddenly become obsessed with a random topic for days. But the moment it's time to work on something important, you feel exhausted before you even begin. And that's usually when people tell themselves, "I'm just lazy." But what if that's the biggest misunderstanding of modern life? Because real laziness is surprisingly rare. Most people aren't avoiding effort. They're avoiding something else. Something much harder to see. Think about the last thing you've been postponing. Starting a project. Going to the gym. Learning a new skill. Making an important decision. You probably told yourself the same thing most people do. I'll do it later. But later comes. And somehow nothing changes. Not because you forgot. Not because you don't care. But because every time you think about that task, your brain quietly attaches discomfort to it. And that's where things start getting interesting. Most people believe motivation comes first, then action. But psychology often shows the opposite. Action comes first. Motivation follows. The problem is that modern life has trained us to wait. We wait to feel motivated. We wait to feel inspired. We wait to feel ready. And because those feelings rarely arrive on schedule, we stay stuck. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. And eventually something dangerous happens. We stop questioning the delay. And start questioning ourselves. I'm lazy. I'm undisciplined. Maybe I'm just not capable. But those stories create a new problem. Because once you believe you're lazy, every unfinished task becomes evidence. Every delay becomes proof. And slowly, the label starts feeling real. Even when it isn't. But here's something most people never notice. Sometimes procrastination isn't a sign that you don't care. It's a sign that you care too much. The more important something feels, the more painful failure becomes. A student who desperately wants to succeed may procrastinate more than someone who doesn't care. An artist may avoid creating because the work matters too much. Someone may delay applying for opportunities because rejection feels unbearable. From the outside, it looks like laziness. From the inside, it's fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of discovering you're not as good as you hoped. And fear is much easier to call laziness. Because laziness sounds temporary. Fear feels personal. But modern life adds another layer. Every day your attention is pulled in hundreds of directions. Notifications. Messages. Videos. Algorithms competing for every spare second. And here's the strange part. The brain doesn't choose what's important. It usually chooses what's easiest. Given the choice between immediate rewards and uncertain effort, most brains choose immediate rewards. Again and again. Not because you're weak. Because you're human. And over time, something strange happens. People spend years trying to become more disciplined, more productive, more motivated, while never asking a much simpler question. What exactly am I avoiding? Because the answer is rarely laziness. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's overwhelm. Sometimes it's perfectionism. Sometimes it's emotional exhaustion. And sometimes, it's carrying so much mental weight that even simple tasks start feeling heavy. The problem is that when everything gets labeled as laziness, the real cause stays hidden. And hidden problems don't get solved. They get repeated. That's why the most productive people aren't always the most motivated. They're often the people who stopped waiting to feel ready. The people who learned that discomfort isn't always a warning sign. Sometimes, it's simply the price of growth. Not every time, but often. And maybe that's the shift most people need. Instead of asking, "Why am I so lazy?" ask, "What am I avoiding?" Because that question changes everything. One attacks your identity. The other reveals the obstacle. And once the obstacle becomes visible, it becomes possible to move. Maybe slowly. Maybe imperfectly. But forward. The strange thing is, this video wasn't really about laziness. It was about the stories people tell themselves when they don't understand what's holding them back. And that's exactly what we explore here on Logic and Habits. If you enjoy psychology, human behavior, and the hidden forces shaping your everyday decisions, consider subscribing. Because understanding your mind might be one of the most important skills you'll ever learn. And maybe the reason you felt stuck for so long isn't because you're lazy. It's because you've been fighting yourself when you should have been understanding yourself.